Welcome back to Metals, Money, and Markets. We're at March 9th, 2018. For MiningClips.com, I'm Rob Goodman, and as always, Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist, will break down the info. Okay, Mickey, three big pieces of data this week. Obviously, the tariffs weighed on the markets. We've got some good economic data as far as job numbers, and Kim Jong-un and Trump might get together here if a few things go our way. Let's get right into it here where these U.S. equity markets are really taking off, but in the metals, pretty flat this week.
The precious metals were more or less flat over the week. That's because the dollar was flat over the week. Gold closed up a buck at 13.23. Silver closed up 6 cents, 16.56. Platinum flat at 9.63. The only one that bucked the trend was palladium. Closed the week at 9.92 for an $8 gain. All that happened today.
Yeah, pretty volatile Friday for copper, but it eked out a little gain and ended up in the positive.
Well, all the industrial metal complex and energy complexes were up today after the tariffs were finalized yesterday. The big deal here was, as predicted, I think I talked about this on Sunday or Monday from the PDAC, that Canada and Mexico would be exempted from this, and certainly they were. So palladium up 0.8%. Copper, the same thing. Had a very volatile day, started the day at 306, closed the day at 314. That 306 was a month low. It's a weird copper market right now. 2 months backward, we haven't seen that in a while, with a really flattened curve. Probably some of the news that allowed copper to go up today is the first Chilean strike of the year, and there's going to be a bunch of these. There's well over 30 contracts to be renegotiated. And yesterday, what drove copper down was a big drop in Chinese export. Very volatile week for copper.
Yeah, and head over to the energy markets here, where both oil and uranium made it into positive ground.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about uranium first. I mean, it was up a whopping 37 cents to 22 bucks. It continues to be range bound here. So that's really no news there, really, of import. Oil was up to 62.05 for a 1% gain over the week, but had a really bumpy week. This gain was all today. There was some negative news come out of the oil patch this week. Rigs up 3, plus 60 year to date. Canada year over year rigs less than they were this time last year, whereas the U.S. is up something on the order of 25% over this period. Canada lost a whopping 29 rigs this week. That weighed on the loonie. U.S. inventories are up, production record at well over 10.3 million barrels, almost 10.4 million barrels today. And finally, the Saudis are going to start shale gas production from a giant field in the northern part of the country. It's not going to be only U.S. shale that's going to add to supply here over the next few years, Rob.
And heading over to these currency markets here, where the majority in the black here, the euro the only one that was about flat.
Well, the dollar was plus or minus 90 all week. I think the low was 89.6. It closed at 90.13, up 0.2% over the week. Of course, the euro was down 0.2% over the week to 123. The real mover this week was the loonie, and that all happened today. And actually, most of it happened in the last few hours of the market. It closed above 78 cents, 78.02, for a 0.6% gain. Really, both this has to do with the tariff exemptions. Both the loonie and the peso rallied over the last 24 hours.
And finishing up with these equities markets, just back on fire again today especially.
Well, there was really big movements today with, as you mentioned earlier, the really boisterous jobs report, the trade tariffs. Now they're in effect. We'll see if Congress will go along with it eventually. But the big news, of course, was specific exemptions for Canada and Mexico. There will be other exemptions coming. The markets really like that today. They were all up around 1.8% today. The volatility has been drifting lower despite all this tariff talk and the turmoil that led in the market. Uh, NASDAQ set an all-time record high today, up 40 points to close at 75.54 for a 4% gain. Going back to the Dow, 25,336, 3.3% gain over the week. S&P 500, 2784 for a 3.5% gain over the week.
And last but not least, the venture exchange ekes out a small gain.
Yeah, well, there was no PDAC bump. It went up 2% the first 2 days of the week. It's down 2% over the last 2 days of the week. Usually we get a bump during PDAC. We'll see if we get the usual curse coming over the next couple of weeks. Very little interest in this market. Hard to find a bid at this point. I guess to sum up the week, it's all about the art of the deal. Trump's book from the mid 80s. Number one on that list, I just took a look at it. Think big. Number 11 on his list, have fun. I think he is having fun.
I think he's actually winning over the media too with this North Korea situation. So let's cross our fingers on that, keep our eye on the wire, and we'll get back to you next week. So thanks for the insight, Mickey. Have a great weekend.
Thanks a lot, Rob.